That sound you didn't hear just tells me I'm supposed to start the show. So I'm Jim Wallace, Executive Director of Gun Owners Action League, and I'm here with behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, and behind the mic, Mike Harris.
Mike Harris, Director of Public Policy for Gun Owners Action League.
Hey, if you can't have fun, why bother, right?
Yeah, it's not worth doing, right?
No, it's midsummer and it's a gazillion degrees outside, and it's not fun. So we at least got some AC in here in the studio.
I was just gonna say I can hear the hum going
Yes.
on behind me. I'm like, oh, I hope the mics don't pick that up, but I don't think they will. I think we're good.
No, that's just me. that's my heart device humming in the background.
Oh man!
So here we are again at the Hornady Studio, and we're actually showcasing our good friends Blackout Coffee Company,
Yes.
which is owned by our good friend
Jared
Yanis.
Jared Yanis.
Yeah.
I love that Carrie Ann calls him Jared Yanis every time. Jared Yanis. Yeah. Our good friend over at Guns and Gadgets. Go check out his channel. He's awesome.
Oh,
I don't know how he gets the scoops that he gets. It's awesome.
I know how he gets them, but
Well, I'm just saying he's got people everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, I know. He just lines them up with coffee. And
right.
they're good, right? Just buy you right out with some caffeine.
He is a. We have a couple of guys who are just like solid, like 2A journalists, like journalists,
right?
Like him and Petrolino, and even Charlie to a certain extent. They're just good at that stuff, just gathering.
Yeah, but Charlie's busy teaching band. So
Charlie's a soldier. I'm a big fan of Charlie.
He's awesome. He's awesome, but. Yeah, it's crazy, but anyway. So we continue to talk about our litigation strategies and our litigation processes, and we are in the midst of finalizing two different pieces of litigation in federal court. We're not going to bother with state court, at least as far as this goes. And one of them is for the assault-style firearms. I love that. Assault-style firearms.
Trade one euphemism for another one.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what else would go with that, like very common polite-style firearm.
I know.
I don't know. But anyway, assault-style firearms, which are ridiculous. As a matter of fact, I just posted on social media a link to our webpage that explains how the state is trying to interpret law that no longer exists.
To the extent that we can explain it. I think out of all of the sections of law that we've gone through with this new statute, that has been the one that we've gone over more times than I care to count.
It's insane. And even at the FCAB, the Firearm Control Advisory Board, I was told once that, well, in order to understand it, you have to understand what it was.
It's like, no.
What? So, Your Honor, I'm sorry, I didn't do the research on the previous law before I tried to follow this law.
This current law, yeah.
And it's like, you have to know what it was to know what it is. We had a president like that once, what is or something, but you know, Bill Clinton. But anyway.
It depends on what your definition of the word is.
Right. So,
hey, at least we didn't have a president who was unburdened by what could have been. Right?
Yeah. Well, today's tomorrow is yesterday's yesterday and whatever, but... All right, folks. So anyway, the problem is the state is pushing for an interpretation through the Firearm Control Advisory Board, literally for language that no longer exists. And that webpage tries to explain it.
Referring specifically to grandfathering dates. I mean, going back to 1994, the pre-ban 94 date is technically no longer in the law.
Not there. Well, as it applies to the gun.
To the gun, yes.
As it applies to the magazine, yes. So anyway, go check out. It's only a one-pager. It'll help you, I think.
Or it will confuse you even more.
Well, it'll at least tell you what the state is doing or wants to do, and that in itself should scare the you-know-what out of you. But anyway.
Yeah, and our interpretation is backed up by FCAB minutes and all that stuff. I mean, as much as it can be.
Yeah. I don't know if I have an interpretation anymore. It's just that insane. Well, we haven't had a guidance letter since November, and I don't think we're going to get it. Anyway, back to the lawsuit.
Yes.
So we don't get too far off track here. The next thing you know, Robin Williams is going to come back from the dead and do a monologue. But anyway, so the first case is assault-style firearms. We are looking for plaintiffs.
Yes.
For this case, you have to be a gold member. And Mike's going to kind of go through the criteria because there is very strict criteria to be a plaintiff. Now, I will tell you that normally when we look for plaintiffs, the first dozen that raise their hand are not the ones you're going to use.
Yeah, it's a little tough.
Yeah.
But I mean, once again, I mean, it's hard to find the perfect plaintiff, and by no means are all of these criteria ironclad. I mean, these are guidelines. These are who we are dreaming about fits. The person we're dreaming about fits all these criteria, but you can't always get everything you want, and depending on the situation, we're willing to bend some stuff.
Now, I will add that when we are looking for plaintiffs, we're seeking plaintiffs. This is what we look for.
Right.
Now, there are cases that we get involved in that are already in the pipeline that we sometimes have to jump onto to protect the Second Amendment, and they are normally not the best plaintiffs you want, but it's necessary to protect the Second Amendment because they're not the worst of the worst. But if you can protect the Second Amendment for somebody who's a little iffy, then you can protect it for the good guys. And that's usually what we look at. But in this case, we are searching for the right plaintiffs. And Mike will tell you. Take it away, Mike.
So, including but not limited to, and not limited to but including. You're those who are desiring firearms for personal defense in the home and or personal defense outside of the home. So, your basic, Second Amendment desires. Hunters.
You're a concealed carry AK.
Exactly. Yeah, hunters, collectors, disabled vets, those in need of folding or telescoping stocks. Like, if you have one rifle in the home and, a few different people who are able to use it and might possibly need to use it if you have to adjust the stock to different, lengths of pull. That's important. That's something that might be necessary for some folks. 3-gun or 2-gun match competitors, high power match competitors. Those are just examples of the folks that we're dreaming about having on this lawsuit. No criminal history. You must be either at least 18 years of old if you're seeking an FID, or at least 21 years old if you're seeking an LTC. We have a separate case that we're fighting out, Escher v. Noble, right now that could eliminate that criteria, but probably not in the time frame necessary for this case to be moving forward. So, just folks who qualify for, the license that they're going
to be filmed
for.
later.
Yeah, hopefully, that would be nice. But just not a prohibited person, which includes persons who are or have been committed to any hospital or institution for finding of mental illness, alcohol or substance abuse, committed by order of a court to any hospital or institution for mental illness, or appointed a guardian or a conservator by order of the probate court. Those are, basic.
And that last one's a tricky one.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Because there's a lot of cases where people are having a hard time and they temporarily give. That was a Joe Biden move.
Of course it was.
Years ago.
He hated us.
Yeah. But that was a Joe Biden move against veterans because that's normally where you would see that. Or I shouldn't say normally, but a lot of times you will see that with a veteran who's going through some really hard times and will give guardianship or what do they call it, conservatorship to maybe their parent or a sibling. And now it's being held against them. So
yeah, I mean, they love, just not to get on a side tangent or anything, but they love discouraging veterans from seeking the help that they need. Especially with this new law. I mean, they seem to love doing that. So, here nor there. So again, prohibited person also includes an alien without lawful permanent residence, or you're the current subject to either a firearm suspension or surrender order, a harassment prevention order, an abuse prevention order, or an extreme risk protection order. I mean, those are all things that we are, at least 2 out of the 3 we're not really psyched about, but, in order to qualify under the law for your LTC, these are the criteria. So these aren't even goals criteria. This is the state's criteria for becoming eligible for an LTC or FID, and these are not the subjects of this fight. So.
Right. So the next case that we're seeking plaintiffs for, and I know we've gotten a couple of questions about this, it is the delays for a new license. And people have said, well, wait a minute, my renewal has taken, 6 years and I had to give, 5 pints of blood to whatever. But the reason behind that is renewals, at least your grandfathered if you put in your renewal prior to your expiration.
Yeah, we usually recommend 90 days.
You're still legal. But if you're trying to get a new license, of course, there's no grandfathering.
It's your grace period.
Because you don't have one. So it's the cleanest thing to bring before a federal court in a timely manner. Of course, the other thing is we won't discuss it in this show, but we have a case in Massachusetts that's kind of similar that we're working on. But anyway, so this one's about delay of new licenses only. So
well, I mean, just to clarify and drill down a little bit, this case is actually about the process. I mean, this case is challenging the process as a whole. And Jim, that's a good way to put it, is the cleanest challenge is to use new folks who are going through this for the first time, because, there's no... It's just the easiest way to categorize.
You're not mentally tainted by the process already.
But it's also also, I mean, this case will also fix the renewal process.
Well, in the filings that you'll see later, it talks about the licensing regime as a whole, and that's what we want. We're tired of a lot of our attorneys, and Jason Guida was the first one, called it whack-a-mole. You sue a chief, somebody gets their license, you don't fix the system. Right. And that's been going on for 25 years. And
that's a purposeful issue as well. I mean, they're kind of doing that so that precedent is not set. I mean, if it takes a court to force an issuance of a license, that's kind of a prima facie argument against the licensing process. However, if you can moot the case out by just granting a license, then no precedent is set and they don't have to go and fix the licensing scheme. This case is challenging the licensing scheme as a process so that we can get some precedent out of this to fix this issue moving forward for everyone.
Yep.
So, that's kind of a
so essentially way to put it. The parameters for a plaintiff for this case are the same, just that we're looking for people who are trying to apply for their new license. So, Mike we've put this out on social media. We've emailed our members about it. We've put it on a few other places and on the interwebs. Yep. So Mike's already getting a bunch of people that we're going to have to vet, and don't be insulted if we say probably with that background we may not be able to use you. But we only need a few. We don't need
But also, we do want to make sure we note that we do appreciate people putting their names forward for this. We will never fault you for that. Even if we don't use you as a plaintiff, we appreciate you reaching out as part of this. Being willing to put your name out there for a suit like this, especially in a place like Massachusetts, takes some serious guts. And we do appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with... the whole cancel culture that's out there now, just in a place that you might work. I mean, I know people that can't get involved because of where they work, and how sad is that?
I know, or where your kids go to school or whatever.
Yeah.
But, all right, I can walk through a little bit of the criteria for this case as well if we want to do that. So, again, must be a gold member, be a new applicant, seeking your FID or your LTC. The same rules apply, 18 if you're 18 to 20 if you're searching for your FID, and 21 plus if you're trying to get your LTC. You must have already taken your Mass State Police approved basics firearms safety course. That's a whole nother can of worms, so we're not going to get into it right now. You must be currently experiencing significant delays to either get an appointment to turn in your application to a licensing authority. We've been seeing licensing authorities setting appointments months out at this point to just turn in your application. That's before the 40-day clock even starts. But anyways, I'll continue. Delays getting an appointment from a licensing authority for an interview, photos, or fingerprints. That's a whole nother avenue of delay. You must be getting a delay receiving a decision on your application from a licensing authority. Beyond significant delays beyond the 40-day time clock in the statute. That's after turning in your complete licensing application. Man, I can't speak today. Again, no criminal history. 18 if you're seeking an FID. 21 if you're looking for an LTC.
That's why we don't have a sign language interpreter.
I know, right?
They could never do it for us.
Yeah. And then additionally, for both of these, we're looking for folks who have like a a minimal social media presence. I mean, that doesn't mean no social media presence at all. Just,
If you have a lot of posts that started with, "Hey, buddy, hold my beer," no bueno.
Or like, I'm not racist, but that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That kind of stuff. I mean, just things that are going to look funky when we put people forward. That's all. It doesn't mean no social media presence. It just means
Certainly
somebody who's
not
careful.
something that'll make you a person of interest after they see it.
Just somebody who's careful with their public image,
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
Additionally, you'd be willing to appear publicly at a court hearing or publicly, in different places where, you might need to go, depositions, things like that. And you must be willing to work with Goal and our attorneys to kind of stay on message. It's not a gag order, but we want to make sure we handle this stuff properly in the court of public opinion as well as the actual courthouse itself. So
Yeah, we had a case years ago where before the person even came to us was all over YouTube making videos about his case. We couldn't take the case because he'd already destroyed it.
yeah.
So don't get out there and start yakking about what's going on. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, if email address, Mike, if they want to get in touch.
So it's mikeh@goal.org. So mikeh@goal.org. And if you're interested in becoming a plaintiff, send me your name, your address, your town, your phone number, your email address, your social media handles, not your passwords. We're not looking at that stuff. We just kind of want to look at stuff, and an explanation of the issues that you're going through. What has happened to you in regarding your attempt at purchasing assault-style firearms, or, I don't know if we're looking for FFL candidates, but we've had a couple of those reach out. I think those are good.
Maybe. Yeah.
And, what your delays look like, things like that. But, just let us know which case you're interested in and, a little bit about yourself. And we'll go from there. We've already had about 37 emails in the last 2 days on this stuff. It's been pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going through those a little slowly to try and kind of figure out who these folks are before I reach out. And then once we kind of get a feel for who we want to talk to a little bit more, we'll be reaching out to those folks.
So not only are these videos important because we're trying to reach out to you and let you know we're looking for plaintiffs, but as these videos progress, you're actually getting a flavor of what it takes to put these things together.
It's a lot.
We cannot tell you how many people will rip us apart on social media or email saying, these cases should have been already solved. You should have been before the Supreme Court, and it simply doesn't work that way. And I wish it did, because I can't tell you how frustrated we are about the sluggish pace of some of this stuff, because there also is a nationwide strategy. And that's why we're working with pretty much all of the national groups that are at least credible, because there are national strategies around this. And some of it is, don't file a case here, file a case in this federal district.
Right.
And then so there's all kinds of things going on behind the scenes. We had one member screaming at us via email that this is already settled law. Why are you even bothering with this? Okay, well, tell that to a judge in district court in Mass when you're arrested by the local police and facing 50 years in prison. But, trust me, if it worked that easy, we would have already done it.
Yeah, we'd already be there.
Mostly because there's stuff we want to buy that we can't buy anymore. So
part of this job is a little bit selfish sometimes.
A little selfishness there. We want to get it done, dude.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's important that we try to explain to you how this is done with not extraordinarily painful great detail, but at least walk you through what we have to do for you. And try to make sure that this is done correctly, because the last thing you want to do is create bad case law, which I don't know if we should say it, but I'm going to say it. Don't file per se cases. Pro se cases.
It's irresponsible.
Worst case you can imagine, and you're going to create bad case law. There are way too many people out there who think they know how this process works and that they can get to the Supreme Court on their own, which is not going to happen. Because as I understand it, Mike, the Supreme Court has a very finite list of attorneys that they will deal with.
Yes. I mean, you Yeah, you have to be able to practice. You have to be able to argue in front of them.
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
by authority, and it's a small pool of folks who are able to get there.
Even the filings that have to be on certain size paper with certain size
there's
margins.
all kinds of stuff like
it's just insane. Mike and Jim just can't go before the Supreme Court. Do you know what's going on in Massachusetts? Get your act together. I wish that could happen, but
yeah, I mean, it's fun to live in. It's fun to think about that stuff, but then when you look at the actual process and you say like, okay, these are the barriers they've set up, and they're the ones who control the reins here. Unless you're in it, you're not in it.
Well, not that it was pro se, but
unfortunately,
it's one of the reasons that Ocean State and what was the other one?
Snope
got whacked back down because they didn't go through the full process.
Well, and
they were trying to skip ahead.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not it's not a knock on them either. That is a legitimate way to get there. The Supreme Court's just not really into that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway,
what
folks,
they're looking for.
Thanks a lot. We'll keep you up to date as these cases are getting ready, and don't forget that July 26th is the first anniversary of Governor Maura Healey signing this piece of garbage into law, which they still cannot explain in any rational manner. So we will keep you up to date. And again, I'm Jim Wallace, Executive Director.
I'm Mike Harris, Director of Public Policy.
And make sure you drink your coffee and buy your Hornady products, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
All right, thanks.